Well, guys, welcome back. Now we are going to move further. But before we move further, we are just going to have an overview about the session which we just had. In the previous session, what did we discuss? We basically started discussing about the risk assessment. In the risk assessment, first we discussed about the hazard, the definition of hazard, and the definition of risk. Then we moved to the first step, that was risk profiling. What is risk profiling? Risk profiling is basically identifying all the risks, all the threats of the organization, okay, and giving them some space, some values, so that we can have clear idea about the threats of the organization. And then we can have an idea that with the present control measures, if we are able to control them, or what additional controls if we implement, then we can control these risks, or we can minimize these risks. in the risk profiling, we are basically preparing a register of the whole organization's risks. Okay, we are giving them some values based on their intensity. Okay, that what kind of damage or what is the possibility of this risk to occur again and again, and how much it would be giving us harm. So we are giving them some values. Values are uh, values are based on their uh, their intensity of their risk. Okay, their severity. So it is displayed in front of you. And once we do the risk profiling, after that, risk profiling, as I mentioned, it is for the whole organizations, all kind of risks. And now we are going to discuss the risk assessment. That is usually for one activity. What is the risk assessment? In the risk assessment, we identify first of all, we identify the hazard, and based on that hazard identification, we identify the risk. For the risk assessment, we are having some steps. What are those steps? First of all, identification of the hazard. To identify the hazard, we just divided it, but it is by ourselves. We just divided it into three different steps or three different categories. You can identify the hazard based on your experience or knowledge. You can have, or you can use some kind of sources of information. Okay, internal sources of information or external sources of information regarding that hazard. And then you can go for the task analysis. For that particular task, you can go and you can evaluate the risk over there. Sorry, you can identify the hazard. We are having these three different methodologies. Now, this was the step one, that is about the identification of the hazard. In step two, what we are going to do, we are going to identify the people who might be harmed and how. Just hold on. That who are the people who are going to get harmed, okay, and how. So over here, as you can see, we are having, for example, in case of any activity, once we are going to identify the hazard, after that we are going to identify who are the people which are going to harm. Workers, operators, for example, maintenance staff or cleaning staff or cleaners. Then other contractors, visitors, member of the public, even the passers-by or the trespassers. Okay. Other than these, we inside our organization, we are having some kind of young people who are new. They are newly joined or they are new employees. Okay. Or those who are not having the workplace experience. Then new or expectant mothers, disabled workers or special people, and lone workers are those who are working alone. These are those guys who might be at risk, who are also at risk or who might be at risk with that activity. Okay, now over here, what we are going to do, we are going to evaluate the risk and decide on precautions. Over here, we are going to evaluate the risk in a way that we will be giving a numerical value to the risk. Till now, what we were saying, we were just saying likelihood, possibility, or severity, or the intensity. Possibility or intensity. We were just using these words. Now we are going to give some numerical values to the likelihoods as well as to the severities of possible severities with that hazard. So over here, in the beginning, we discussed what was risk. Risk was likelihood multiplied by severity. If we just talk about likelihood, we can have different possibilities of that hazard or of that hazardous event to get occur. For example, if we are having For example, if someone is walking on a surface, and there is one kind of trip hazard. This This is hazard. What is the hazardous event? Hazardous event is when he will reach over here, he will be getting trip and he will be getting fall. Okay, the trip of this person over here and to get fall, this is what we call hazardous event. Hazard itself doesn't do anything. For a hazard to be an effective hazard, you can say hazardous event has to be occur. Once the hazardous event occurs, then different possibilities are appearing in front of us. Different outcomes are appearing in front of us. The possibilities, we call them likelihoods. Severities, the outcomes, we call them severities. Now, for different possibilities, you can have possibility you can have only 3 possibilities and you can have only 3 outcomes or only 3 severities. Okay, like means the 3 likelihood and 3 severities. In the same way as it is mentioned over here, 5 into 5, both are possible. In some scenarios, you might be having 10 likelihood, 10 possible events or 10 possible frequencies of that event to get occur, and 10 possible severities or 10 possible intensities of that hazardous event, or 10 possible outcomes. Okay, when we are having 3 likelihoods and 3 severities, we multiply them and we get 3 by 3 matrix. In case, just like over here, if we are having 5 likelihood and we are having 5 severity values and we multiply them, so we get 5 by 5 risk matrix. In the same way, you can have 10 by 10 risk matrix, depending upon the values of likelihood and the values of severity. We are going to discuss an average, which one is basically 5 by 5 risk matrix. What is that? Let us have a discussion about it. Give me a minute. If we talk about the likelihood, okay, as I mentioned, possibility. Sometime you will also be hearing the word frequency. Different terminologies are being used to have a better understanding, but most common one is likelihood. Okay. So what it says, likelihood says starting from values of number 1, that is extremely unlikely. Okay, number 2 is unlikely, then possible, then likely, then very probable. You might, based on the hazard, you might be having different likelihoods. For example, you can say extremely unlikely once in a year. You can say 6 months, 3 months, okay, and then 1 month, and then weekly. In the same way, you can start from 6 months up to daily. Okay, in the same way, you can start from 3 months up to any time. It depends upon the hazard. For example, on the risk side, H2S can leak out anytime. So we will be starting from any time. Very probable it is going to be leaked out. It is, and in that way we will be moving further. Okay, so these values are basically describing the event to occur, the possibility of the event to occur. Now, in the same way, we are having different kind of severities. For example, very minor injury, only a scratch on your body. First aid injury, you get some kind of cut on your finger. Okay, you went to the medic. The medic applied some kind of medicine over there, and he just give you some kind of uh, he just gave you some kind of bandage, and then he sent you back, and you can perform your job. Okay, this is cut on the finger. This is first aid. You just got the first aid, and then you can come back to your job. Lost time injury. You get some kind of injury where you cannot get back to the job within 24 hours of time span. Okay. After that, this is lost time injury. Hospital treatment. Of course, that is more than 24 hours up to 48 hours. Okay, maybe week, but you can get back to the job. Then there is something which we call disabling injury. You get permanent disabled and you cannot get back to your job. So these are the possible severities. And also you might be having over here, instead of disabling injury, you might be having fatality. Okay, in some scenarios, guys, you might have these numbers replaced with each other. Like here in Saudi Arabia, after first aid injury, we are having MTC, medical treatment case. Then LTI comes. After first aid injury, third one is medical treatment, fourth one is LTI, then fatality or disabling injury. So you might be having different scenarios of likelihood and severity. But remember, it depending upon the hazard, we will be giving them some numerical values. If we are going to represent these numerical values in a graphical manner, where we are mentioning the likelihood on x-axis and severity on y-axis, we call it a risk matrix. The values we are getting over here, these values are basically the product of these multiplications. Clear? In the same way, from here, from here, from here, from here, and from here. In the same way, these lines are crossing each other. I hope so. This risk matrix is clear for everyone. In the risk matrix, when we multiply these numbers with each other, we are getting some products over here. These products are basically the numerical values of risks. Okay, the higher the value, the more the risk is. Lower the value, lower the risk is. Depending upon organization's risk profiling, you are giving them or you are dividing them into groups, or you are giving them some grouping values. Grouping values which are bearable, or you can say tolerable, starting from acceptable risk, starting from acceptable, okay, tolerable, okay, up to intolerable. as I mentioned, acceptable, tolerable, action required, and immediate action required. So you can give some time to fix it. Immediate action is required. Stop the work. Okay. Different terminologies are again used depending upon your internal risk matrix terminologies. Okay. Over here, till now, if there is any question, please ask me. Faizan, Abdullah,
Yes, sir.
Adil, any question?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So what we are basically having a risk matrix till now. Once we identify the risk, what we have to do, let's say we identify the risk and the value comes over here, or the value comes over here, and which is unbearable risk for us. What we have to do, we have to reduce the value of this risk. How we are going to reduce the value of this risk? We have to reduce its value to an acceptable level. For that purpose, either we can play with the likelihood, or otherwise we can play with the severity. How do we do that? Either we reduce the likelihood, or otherwise we reduce the severity. In that way, we will be having the risk reduction. Once you reduce the risk in any way, whatever the remaining value will be there, we call it residual risk. The question is, who will decide about this residual risk, or what kind of action we will be taking to reduce the likelihood or to reduce the severity? Of course, we need to define some control measures. Who will define these control measures? How we know about these control measures? There is something which we call a hierarchy of control, which basically defines about the control measure. What is this hierarchy? This hierarchy says, first of all, you eliminate the hazard. Consider that you are having a generator. You are having a generator, okay, which is giving you excessive noise. And of course, you cannot bear this noise. Noise is a hazard. So elimination says, just eliminate the generator, okay, and get the direct electrical power from government. You eliminate the generator, you eliminate the noise, and basically because there is no noise now, because hazard is eliminated, so no need to control it. It is automatically controlled. Automatically controlled how? Because there is no hazard. Okay, this is the best control you can say, once or when you eliminate the hazard. Okay, in case if we cannot eliminate it, because we are in the desert and we cannot get the direct power source from the government, because government lines are not reached over there till now. Let's say in that scenario, we will go for the substitution. What substitution says? Substitution says that in case if we are having a generator which is producing high noise, okay, just substitute this generator with a new generator which would be giving you less noise. Of course, in this scenario, in substitution, we do not completely eliminate the hazard, but somehow the intensity is reduced. Okay, this is second, you can say, control which we define. Basically, over here, we do not control the hazard yet. We are just controlling the scenario or the situation. We are just substituting the equipment, for example. In case if we cannot do that, Substitution is not possible because generator is too much expensive. Then we will be going to control the hazard using engineering control. Engineering control, when we identify some kind of technical solutions to control the hazard. For example, we will be isolating the generator with total enclosure. There is a generator which is producing noise. We are going to enclose it. Once we enclose it, what will be happening? This noise will be remaining inside this closure, and the people outside will be protected from this noise. Okay, separation, segregation would be here. Partial enclosure, sometimes we do that if possible. Safety devices we can use. We can also apply some kind of silencer over there. Silencer, huh? We use them so that we minimize the noise. In that way, we can protect our employees. These are the engineering controls. Let's say due to some reason, and the reason is extreme hot weather, we cannot enclose it. We cannot segregate it. We can apply silencer, but after applying the silencers, still we are having high noise level. Due to extreme hot weather, we cannot enclose it, because if we enclose it, then ventilation is required over there. If ventilation would not be there, then the generator will heat up, and of course, fire could be the possible outcome. So it means that our engineering controls, somehow these are failed. Then what is the next? Next is the administrative control. You manage, you perform some kind of management, or you make some kind of rules or regulations to control the hazard. How? Means you provide safe system of work. Okay, you reduce exposure. You reduce time of exposure or dose. Provide information, instruction, training, and supervision to your employees. For example, what you do, you basically ask everyone you are putting some signboard over here, high noise area. Okay, you are informing the people that we are having high noise area. Once you are leaving, you are moving in this area, in this zone, you will be facing high noise. Okay, you are making some administrative control in a way that you do not let anyone work over there permanently. The person who goes over there, he performs his job, within 15-20 minutes, he leaves back. So that he should not be having excessive exposure here in this zone. Okay, for that purpose, of course, information, instruction, training, and basically supervision is very important over here. And by the way, this is one of the best administrative control you do or you provide. In case if you cannot do that, okay, or after applying this one, still the people are getting exposed with the high noisy area, then what you will do? Then finally, because now we tried all elimination, substitution, engineering control, and administrative control, but because we are paid to control the hazards, so then finally we provide PPE. PPE to all of our workers, so that they would be protected. Once you provide PPE to all of your employees, it means that now they have to work with the hazard present on the site. Clear? It means that hazard is not controlled yet. So whenever we will be having a risk value calculated over here, we have to reduce the risk in this way. PPE would be provided in the end. Next is in the administrative control, as I mentioned over here, that we will be providing some kind of signboards, safety sign. Whenever we are providing some safety sign, there is some message in these safety signs. What are these messages? Over here, this is prohibition. Prohibition sign, you will always have prohibition sign like this. Some object is there, for example, car is there. Okay, and if you are having this line over there on the car, and car is usually black, just like over here, the man is in the black shade. Over here, if it is in black and there is red line, this one just like this is the prohibition sign that you cannot do this. It is forbidden over here. Warning signs are triangular signs with yellow background and black pictogram. Blue signs are mandatory signs. For example, P is mandatory. Over here, you will be having round a circular signs with blue background and white pictogram on it. These are mandatory signs. For safe conditions like exit routes, okay, for emergency exits, you will be having green color background and white sign over there. For fire equipment and identification of fire, we will be having red color sign, red color background and white pictogram on it. Clear, guys? You must memorize all these pictograms. Any question?
See, this safe condition, normally it is information. Now, white and green is information. You can say information.
Basically, when we talk about safe condition, we are giving information. Yes, this is right. But usually, when we talk about safe condition, we are telling about the safe condition in terms of emergency response. Right? Otherwise, inside the office, we are working over there because considering that our office is safe. Clear now?
Okay.
Right. Regarding the personal protective equipment, personal protective equipment is having one regulation 1992. Okay, and it says that PPE supply should be from the employer. Okay, and should be free of cost. And important thing is it should be appropriate for the risk. For example, if I am going to work in the confined space where we are having the hazard of carbon monoxide or H2S to be present in the atmosphere of confined space, I would not be using this mask. Okay, I would be using SCBA. That is basically appropriate for that risk. Okay, next is ergonomic. It should be fit to your body and it should not be giving you any kind of additional fatigue to your body. And because once it would be fit, ergonomical issue will be resolved. Okay, next is does not increase overall risk. For example, if you are wearing high visibility vest, and you are moving in the area of hot work, for example, in the welding shop, overall risk is increasing basically with the vest because this is flammable. It can catch fire. So you should not be moving over here while wearing the high visibility vest. Against that, you should be using overalls, which are FRCs. Next is it complies with standard, whatever the standard your company is asking or your as per your internal procedure or your client. So you as PP should be complying with that. Ensure compatibility of the item. For example, helmet. This earmuff is compatible to be used with this helmet or not. Sometimes it is possible, sometimes it is not possible. We must be having a suitable storage of the PPE. Information, instruction, and training should be given so that people should know the use of or the correct use of PPE, and we must enforce the use of PPE to all the employees. And in case if we need some kind of replacement or repairs, some kind of damage, it should be possible. In case if we lose our item of any PPE, we should be able to get it back as earlier as possible because we are using the PPE in an area where we are having live hazards. Remember. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, regarding the PPE, what are the benefits and limitation of PPE? Who will tell me? There are some benefits of PPE and there are some limitations of PPE.
Hi, Mr. Badru, Vijay Kumar here. When we use PPE, the personal protective equipment, always it will provide safety to the to our body, our personal body and health, and you want both risk also, risk control also, correct?
Yeah, remember.
Yeah, tell me.
PPE protects you.
It can reduce the impact only.
It can reduce the impact, yes. Impact reduction, yes.
The employee can feel free while working because he is already using all the required PPE as per the nature of the job.
Fizan, I could not understand. Employee.
Just I want to say that if employee will wear all the required PPE as per nature of the job, so he will feel that means he will not feel any fear, any type of fear, so that he can work freely.
Yeah. So this would be disadvantage, right?
Okay.
It restricts the movement, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Vijay, you mentioned PPE protects you. PPE does not control the hazard. Yes. PPE does not control the hazard. PPE protects you only. What else?
It may not be compatible with other items that have to be worn or used.
Yes. Compatibility.
Provide the safe environment in the working areas.
Come again, please.
Provide the safe environment in the working areas.
Provide the safe environment in the working area. Provide the safe environment. No, it doesn't provide the safe environment.
This reduces the risk, not complete the safe environment.
No, it basically, Mr. Vijay, it doesn't do anything with the risk. For example, I give you the example. For example, if we are having a wire which is carrying the current through it. Okay, once you are using rubber gloves to hold, once you are using rubber gloves to touch this wire, current will be same. So it doesn't do anything with the hazard. Okay, controlling the hazard means you are either reducing the hazard or you are reducing the current in this scenario, or otherwise stop it from flow. Stop the current flow. This is the control. But PP doesn't have anything to do with the hazard control. It controls you. It protects you. Right? This is what we are discussing over here. And these are the merits and limitation of the PP. What are these? It can be used as an interim control with more expensive or difficult controls are put in place. You can have immediate control with this. This is the advantage. Where you don't have to spend money on expensive controls. Next, in some situation, it may be the only control option available. Yes, in some scenarios, you have no other option. Not the engineering, not that. Next, it may be needed as a backup for emergencies when other controls have failed. Yes, of course. When other control measures will be failed, at that time, your helmet, your gloves, your safety boots, your coverall will be protecting you. It is usually cheap. Good advantage. Yes, you can get it cheaply and almost available everywhere. It gives immediate protection to you. Yes, it protects you. What are the demerits? It only protects one person at a time, the one who is using it, not all the ones who are working with it. It will not protect adequately if it is not fitted correctly. If you don't use it properly, if you don't wear it properly, of course, there are questions on its protection. Next is it may not be comfortable and may interfere with the wearer's ability to do the job. Right? Once, as Faizan said, once you use it, okay, you are not very much free to move. Next is it may increase overall risk by impairing the senses. Goggles that messed up. Yes, it may increase overall risk. As I mentioned, wearing the high visibility vest, which is flammable inside the welding shop. Next is it may not be compatible with other items that have to be worn or used. Earplugs, ear muffs, if they are compatible with the helmet or not. Next is very important. People do not like wearing PPE. Yes, they don't like wearing PPE. Who likes to wear the PPE in the class? Who is in the class? Starting from, let me ask, starting from Abdullah, Adil, Fazan, everyone please mention in the chat, you like it or you don't like it? You like to wear the PPE or you don't like to wear the PPE? Zhangfeng, Mr. Vijay, SK, Abdul Qadir, Shanwaz, Shahid Afridi, Saha, Ramesh, Pradeep, Umar, Noor, Nawaz, Muhammad, Suhail, Javed, Furqan, Fias, Fezan, Adil, Abdullah. Like. It is for my safety. Very nice. Okay. Don't like for our protection. We need to wear. Okay. Abdullah, so never used. Okay, fine. Like. Yes, it protects ourselves. Really not like because, but we have to wear for safety. Right. No, but we have to. No. Yes. Most of the time, people they don't. I like. Okay. Most of the time, people they don't like to wear the PPE. And yes, personally, if I talk about myself, I don't like to wear the PPE. Why? What is the reason? Because I have to wear the PPE where I have not been provided a safe and helpful workplace. Right or wrong? This is our first right as a worker, as an employee. Our first right is to have a safe and helpful workplace. As per ILO, as per safety management system. Right? ILO C155 R164. Do you remember, guys? If I am wearing the PPE, it means that the area or the workplace is not safe and helpful. Next is use of guidance and legal standards. Once we are using the risk matrix, it can help us providing some kind of clarity. Can first thing, it can set internal risk level that require action within set time scale. When we are having a risk matrix defined, okay, over here, when we say tolerable, sorry, accepted, tolerable, intolerable, okay, immediate action required. So, and or otherwise within 1 week, then based on our internal procedure, when we are saying, let's say 1 week of action is required, based on this risk matrix, we are having clear set time scale, clear value of the risk, where we can argue with our management, provide the proper control, proper resources so that we can control the hazard. Next is legal requirements override the finding of the risk assessment. How even if the risk is low, if the law requires it, then it must be done. Your internal procedures are saying you are asking you to do it or no. Your legal requirements are overriding, superseding over there. Okay, and these are basically legal requirements. So these are having more value, more worth as compared to these. So once you are having something mentioned in the risk matrix, of course, you must control it. Either you like it or either you don't like it, because now it is the legal requirement. And it applies to also to semi-legal code of practice, and guidance can also assess that regarding this guidance from internal procedure. Internal, I will also say external. From where? External is from the client side, you can say. Internal is your internal procedures. Okay, so these are the advantages of risk matrix, that once you are having everything calculated properly over here and numerical values are mentioned over there, so it is very easy for you to argue with your management that we must control this risk. We must reduce the risk. And we can apply these kind of controls. Right? And sometimes when it comes to the legal requirement, of course, legal bodies, they will force you, they will, of course, push you to do something regarding that risk. Now, when we reduce the risk, there are different terminologies we are using regarding the residual risk. The residual risk is basically the risk level we are left with after controls have been implemented. Consider your initial risk was at this level. You applied some kind of control and new risk is now over here. It was initial and this is the remaining. This remaining risk is basically the residual risk after applying the control measures. Next is acceptable risk. Acceptable risk is that risk which has been reduced to an adequate level. Like if the risk has been reduced into from here, from orange or from red side up to the green. So these are acceptable risk values. Next is tolerable risk. tolerable risk is not acceptable, but can live with it for a short period of time with interim control. Means you apply interim control when we say interim control means on-site control or temporary control, but on the spot controls. So over here, tolerable risk is something which you cannot work, but for a very short period of time, with maybe proper supervision, proper training, instruction, and that would be a temporary control. You must control it permanently. Then unacceptable risk, when the risk is too high and you cannot just accept it, you have to stop the job, you have to fix the issues, and then you carry on your job. Otherwise, for example, over here in the red area or orange areas. So guys, these are basically the residual, acceptable, tolerable, and unacceptable risks. Now, once we have identified the risk, we have controlled the risk. This is the time what we are going to do. We are going to record significant findings and we are going to implement them. For that purpose, what we are going to do, in case if we are going to record the significant findings, guys, do you remember when we perform the SRIDM? Yes, Shanwas.
Yes, sir. Sir, regarding the tolerance, the third point, tolerable risk, can you give me any example for this
Tolerable risk.
within a short period of? Yes, sir.
For example, during the lifting activities,
Okay.
when you are going to perform the load test for the crane, okay, you work in critical area. At that time, you do it. That is somehow tolerable. You do it for a very short period of time, okay, under proper supervision. That is the interim control.
Mhm. Okay.
Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you.
No issue. Any other point? Any other? If someone wants to ask.
Mr. Badru, there just can I see the two slide before one slide was there?
This one?
No, before that. One with an arrow, down arrow mark.
Down arrow mark. This one.
Elimination, no, not this one. Yes, okay, once again. This is,
By the way, this is the same slide. And
okay,
has been elaborated over here. Elimination, substitution.
understood, okay. Thank you.
No problem. Any question from here? No. Okay. When we perform the SRIDM, guys, when we identified the hazard over here, do you remember the SRIDM where we selected the task and our task was, what was our task? Come on. Pradeep was the one who chose,
Waterproofing.
waterproofing. Very nice. We select the task. Okay. And then what did we do?
We record the stages of the task.
Recorded the stages. Okay. By the way, we only choose one point because of lack of timing. Okay. So we only focus on the first one. We record the significant findings. Okay. It was our first column. Okay. After that, we evaluated the risk. Here in the second column, E, R, and E. We evaluate the risk associated with each hazard or with each step. And here, what did we do? We developed safe working methods. Do you remember we provided the PPE, then we go for mechanical and lifting, and then we mentioned the personal capacity, right? So over here,
Yes.
over here we prepared some kind of table, right? Is this table over here? We are saying we will be implementing based on this table because everything is completed over here. Okay, and so we will be implementing these control measures and we will keep monitoring them. The question is, this table is enough for us to mention that we have done the risk assessment properly? If yes or no, let us see. If this table is not enough, what we have to do? Do we have to mention the activity and area assessed and hazard? Let's say these are the three main boxes. Select the task, record the finding, save work method. Let's say this one. Okay. Do we need to mention the area or activity assessed over here in the top like this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, it is correct.
Groups at risk. Who are at risk? Do we need to mention them? Yes, we will be mentioning it over here in the heading. The risk and adequacy of existing control measures. This is over here. Further precautions needed. Safe working method we mentioned there. Date and name of the competent person. Over here we are mentioning it. Right? Then review date. In case if we have to review it, that would also be mentioned over here in the heading. And finally at the end, what we are doing at the end, we are mentioning over here approvals, that who is responsible to approve it from our side, from the construction side, from the client side, right? What it looks like, doesn't it looks like your JSA? In the beginning we agreed that, right? Everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, remember, I am giving the example of JSA to let you know or to have you a better understanding about this significant findings. Remember, JHA can also be used to have an understanding about it. Okay, and different organization, they are having different methodologies. You can also add some more steps over here. Okay, some more steps over here, depending upon your internal procedure. The one we just have discussed is basically about the generic implementation and its coordination, or you can say it's parallelly we discussed about the JSA just to have a better understanding. That's it. Okay, so over here we record the significant findings. In significant findings, we mention all these points. Then in step 5, we basically mention that if we have to review it or not. For the review, basically what do we do? In case if there is some kind of significant change in the process, substances, equipment, workplace environment, personnel, people are changed, then we have to review the JSA. In case if JSA is no longer valid, for example, with the current risk assessment, I am just using the word JSA, with the current risk assessment, if, because in the risk assessment, we defined the control. With the current risk assessment, if with the current control measures, we have had accident, near miss, ill health issues, or in case if there is some kind of change to legal standard, then of course this risk assessment is no longer valid. We have to review it, and usually we define a time period just to make sure that we are having our JSA up to the date, we must review it. Depending upon all these factors, you can review your risk assessments. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Here we discuss the 5 steps of the risk assessment. Okay, what are the 5 steps? First one is identify the hazard. Okay, then identify who might be harmed and how. Okay, first step, second step, third, I would start writing it from here. What was the third step?
risk assessment or probability and
Implementation.
Evaluate the risks and decide on precautions. And control, I will say, easy words. What was the fourth step? Find the significant findings. Right, and what is the fifth step?
Review.
Review. So these are basically 5 steps of the risk assessment. Here, starting from the identification of hazard, where we identified using our knowledge or experience, okay, internal and external sources, and then freedom. We identified the hazard, okay, then we identified who might be harmed and how. Then we evaluated the risk using the risk matrix. We control the risk using the hierarchy of control, starting from elimination. Okay, elimination. Then what was the next one? Reduction.
substitute.
Next one, engineering control, administrative control, and then PPE. After that, we recorded the significant findings and then we review it. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In case if there is any question, please ask me now. No. Okay, guys, while we are considering, yes, Mr. Faizan.
Just this is apart from this, sir. Just last week, yesterday lecture has not been shared with us. So
Faizan, can you please check your mic? I cannot hear you properly.
just yesterday lecture has not been shared with us till time.
Yesterday's lecture was not shared with you. It will be
Yes.
shared with you. Don't worry today.
So
I
just
I already uploaded the videos on the YouTube and it would be taking some time. It was taking some time when I joined the lecture. Maybe till now these have been uploaded. I would be sharing you the link.
why I told you, sir, no, when we are going through that videos, no, so most of the things we are getting cleared. So I requested it, sir.
I'm sorry about that.
No, just when we are going through that videos, no, so most of the thing you got cleared at the same time. So
Okay.
I have
Okay.
requested with you.
Okay, fine. Okay, guys, over here we are having a short topic that sometimes we are having some kind of special cases or vulnerable workers. What are those? Like young persons who are under 18, they are having very less experience about the job. They don't have physical and mental maturity. They are having poor risk perception and they are very well or very easily influenced by the peer group, by their colleagues. Okay, then they are eager to perform the job, whatever you are going to give them. So what are the control measures for these guys? We have to stop them from performing some certain kind of high risk activities. For example, high risk machinery like crane or forklift. Stop them or do not let them use these machineries. The restrict work patterns and hours. For example, we should not be giving them any overtime because they can get fatigued earlier as compared to the experienced people. We need to train them and we need to supervise them properly before we let them perform their job independently. Okay, this is about young person. Yes, Siddharth.
Just I have one doubt, sir. Can you clear the vulnerable workers meaning, actual
Would
meaning?
are special workers. The terminology vulnerable is basically used for special cases or vulnerable who, if we go with the word vulnerable, its meaning in the dictionary is different. Okay, over here meaning is special workers who are not like others.
Okay, sir.
Next is new and expectant mothers. We need to stop them from certain chemicals, or we restrict their movement from closer to certain chemical, for example, lead. Certain biological agents could be there, rubella virus. I'm not going to explain it. Okay, these are not good for the expectant mothers. Manual handling, we don't have to let them use the let them perform the manual handling. Okay, in case if there is temperature extreme, we don't have to let them go over there. Whole body vibration not allowed for them. Okay, ionizing radiation, they should not work in the X-ray area. Okay, or radioactive area. Night shifts, we should stop them. We should keep them away from any kind of stress or the area where they can have violence. Means someone can shout on them. Okay, so for these are the control for expectant mothers. Next is for disabled workers, we need to identify in case if they are having some kind of health and fitness criteria for some job, like eyesight requirement to drive forklift truck. Regarding these disabled workers, your organization, whenever you join any organization, you are submitting your MFC medical fit certificate just to show you that you are fit to perform the job. In case if you are having issue with your eyesight, it would be mentioned over there. Sometimes we are having workers with non-disability where what are the implication of their disability? If they are disabled, what kind of job they can do, what kind of job they cannot do. So we will be giving them the jobs only where they can easily perform their job. Okay, and the area should also be selected properly in the same way. Just like for the eyesight. Okay, next is lawn workers. Workers especially vulnerable at these are lawn workers are those workers which are more vulnerable workers, especially those who are going individually or alone in someone's house to attend the patients, for example, because people are patients. Okay, they can hit them, they can assault them. These guys are at violence, at risk of violence. Okay, for example, prison officer, mental health nurse. If they are injured or ill, how we will know about them? For example, if someone is working alone in the confined space, how we will know? Then what are our controls? We would be having a standby man outside of the confined space who will keep monitoring him. Right? In this way, we are monitoring the non-working. Based on non-working, we will be managing the non-working based on the job. Whatever the job is given to them, we will be managing it based on the job. Okay, that if they are non-workers, what is the risk? Then we manage the risk. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, clear.
Okay, okay, great. Now let us have a break. It's prayer time. Let us have a break of again 30 minutes. Okay, right now I am having 8:10 on my watch. Let us back at 8:40 p.m. And over here, by the way, over here we have finished our topic. Okay, we just covered till here, we covered about the risk assessment. And after the risk assessment, we just discussed some special cases and vulnerable workers like young persons, expectant mothers, disabled workers, and lone workers. Okay, and our topic of the risk assessment is finished. Once we will be back, we will be discussing about the safe system of work. So let's have a break, guys.